My name is Nora Caldwell, and I was 32 the year I learned what a manila folder could do to a family. My grandmother turned 79 on a Saturday in October. She baked her own cake, vanilla with buttercream roses, her specialty since before I was born. She set the table for 8. Paper napkins, the good plates, dried hydrangeas from her garden. Nobody came. My parents were skiing in Aspen. My brother sent a text at 4:15. "Happy B-Day, Gran. Skiing is amazing." My father didn't text at all. My mother posted a ski goggles selfie to her church group chat with the word blessed. I drove 3 hours from Hartford after my shift and found her sitting alone in the kitchen, candles melted down to the frosting. The ice cream had gone soft. She looked at me like she wasn't sure I was real. I cut her a slice. I sang. The next day, while I was helping her clean the house, 2 strangers knocked on her door. They handed me a folder, sealed, thick, signed in my grandmother's own handwriting. What happened after that ended my family as I knew it. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where ordinary people set quiet boundaries that change everything, and dignity always gets the last word. If stories about standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves hit close to home, drop a comment and subscribe. That evening stays pressed into me like a thumbprint in wet clay. I'd left Hartford at 5, still in my work flats, a gas station bouquet on the passenger seat. 3 hours on I-95. Then the back roads through Briarwood where the oaks arch over the pavement like a cathedral ceiling. I pulled into her gravel driveway at 8:12. The porch light was on. Every other window was dark. Inside, the kitchen table told the whole story. 8 place settings, a centerpiece of dried hydrangeas she'd arranged that morning. The cake sat in the middle, vanilla buttercream roses, 79 spelled out in pink gel. The candles burned down to waxy nubs stuck in the frosting. A gallon of Neapolitan had sweated through its carton onto the tablecloth. She was sitting at the head of the table in her lavender cardigan, hands folded around a glass of water. "Nora." She smiled, then frowned. "Is it Tuesday?" "It's Saturday, Gran. Your birthday." "Oh." She touched the cake. "I thought I was making this for the church bake sale." I set the flowers in a mason jar and fixed her a plate. We ate cake with our hands because neither of us felt like washing forks. I sang happy birthday twice because halfway through the first time, she asked me to start over. At 10, I carried her to bed. She weighed nothing. Her wrist was the width of a paper towel roll. As I pulled the quilt to her chin, she grabbed my hand. Her eyes went sharp, focused, like a radio catching a signal through static. "They think I don't notice," she whispered. I waited for more. She was already asleep. "I should tell you who I am in this family. The Caldwells of Briarwood are a particular kind of Connecticut comfortable. My father, Gregory, managed regional accounts for an insurance brokerage until he could golf 3 times a week and call it consulting. My mother, Diane, organized charity galas and sat on the library board. My brother, Aaron, ran a small construction development firm, Aaron Caldwell Properties, and owned a German sedan that cost more than my annual salary. Then there was me, the paralegal. I worked at a 4-person elder law firm in Hartford. Wills, trusts, guardianship filings. I earned $47,000 a year and studied for the bar at night. My family called me the paperwork one. At holiday dinners, Diane would tilt her head and say, "Nora's still doing her little legal assistant thing," like I was selling friendship bracelets at a farmer's market. I didn't argue. I read fine print. But this house was mine in every way that mattered and no way that counted. I took my first steps on the kitchen linoleum. Lorraine taught me to read Elise on the back porch when I was 19, her reading glasses perched on her nose, a red pen between her teeth. She co-signed my first apartment because my parents wouldn't. I slept in the guest room that night and lay awake tracing the ceiling crack I'd traced since I was 6. Around midnight, I got up for water. On the hallway shelf behind a framed photo of the family, I found a business card, Brenda Voss, Voss and Dean Realty, with a handwritten note on the back. Comp value, $680,000. Quick close possible. I put the card back. My hands were steady, but my stomach wasn't. Sunday morning, I scrubbed the kitchen while Lorraine dozed in her recliner. The cake went into Tupperware. The melted candles went into the trash. I wiped buttercream off the good plates and stacked them in the cabinet where they'd sit until whoever came to clear out the house someday. That thought landed wrong. I shoved it aside. At 10:15, someone knocked. 2 people stood on the porch. The woman was about 60. Silver bob, wool coat, leather briefcase. Professional. The man beside her was younger, maybe 40, carrying a notary seal in a zippered pouch. "Nora Caldwell?" the woman asked. "Yes." "My name is Ruth Adler. This is my colleague, Nathan Pruitt. Your grandmother retained my firm 14 months ago." She held out a manila folder, thick, sealed with a wax paper flap, my grandmother's name printed on the tab in blue ink. "She asked us to deliver this to you," Ruth said, "personally, when the time came." "When the time came for what?" Ruth glanced at the recliner through the screen door, her expression softened by a degree. "Come to my office when you're ready. Here's my card." She pressed it into my hand. "Don't discuss this with your parents before we talk." They were in their car and pulling away before I could form a second question. I stood on the porch holding the folder. It was heavier than it looked, maybe 40 pages. The seal had been signed across the flap in Lorraine's handwriting, looping and deliberate, the way she signed birthday cards and Christmas checks. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. "Who is at the door? Don't sign anything, Nora." I turned the phone face down and brought the folder inside. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where the birthday cake had sat untouched the night before, and ran my finger along the sealed flap. Lorraine's signature crossed the seal. I recognized every curve. The capital L with its exaggerated tail, the double loop on the lowercase r. This wasn't a shaky mark. This was written by a woman who knew exactly what she was putting her name on. I broke the seal. Inside, a stack of legal documents I recognized from work. A recorded deed, a trust instrument, a durable power of attorney, notarized witness pages, a physician's letter on medical letterhead, dated 14 months ago. Clipped to the front, a handwritten note on Lorraine's personal stationery, cream paper, blue ink, the same deliberate script. "Nora, when they come for the house, open this. Everything you need is here. I love you. I'm sorry it has to be you." I read the note 3 times. Each time the words, "when they come for the house," landed harder. Not if. When. She'd known. 14 months ago, before the forgetting got bad, before she started calling me by my mother's name, before the wandering and the stove left on, and the day she got lost driving to the post office 2 blocks away, she'd known someone would come for the house. She'd prepared. I closed the folder and pressed my palm flat on top of it. Through the doorway, I could hear Lorraine snoring lightly in her recliner, a crossword puzzle slipping off her lap. She'd hired a lawyer. She'd signed documents. She'd left me instructions. That note didn't let me sleep that night. I lay in the guest room with the folder on the nightstand, watching the ceiling, listening to the house breathe. Monday morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Something in me said to stay. I found it while taking out the recycling. A lockbox. A realtor's combination lockbox, clamped to the gas meter behind the hydrangea bushes, tucked just out of sight from the front walk. I knew what it was immediately. I'd seen them on every listing in Briarwood. Somebody had been showing this house. I went back inside and opened Lorraine's mail pile, 3 weeks of unsorted envelopes on the hallway table. Buried between a phone bill and a coupon flyer, I found a listing sheet. Off-market. Printed on Voss and Dean Realty letterhead. The same Brenda Voss from the business card behind the photo frame. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Original hardwood. Quarter-acre lot. Listed at $680,000. $50,000 under the most recent comp in the neighborhood. In the kitchen junk drawer, I found the worst of it. A purchase agreement. Unsigned, but filled in. Buyer. Stonewall Capital Group, LLC. Cash offer. 30-day close. Seller's signature line left blank, but someone had penciled L. Caldwell in block letters below it, like a rehearsal. The listing agent was Brenda Voss. The contact on the buyer's side was a name I didn't recognize, but the seller's representative listed on the agreement was Aaron Caldwell, my brother. I sat on the kitchen floor and spread the pages around me like a paper mosaic. The lockbox, the listing sheet, the purchase agreement, Brenda's card, a sticky note in Diane's handwriting. Closing target, November 15th. That was 3 weeks away. I picked up the folder from the nightstand, and this time I opened it to the first page of the trust instrument. I read every word. I called my mother at 6 that evening. "Oh, Nora." Diane's voice had that specific warmth, the one she used on parish volunteers and restaurant hostesses. Bright, managing. "How's Gran doing? We had the most wonderful time in Aspen. The snow was just divine." "There's a lockbox on her gas meter." Silence. 2 seconds. 3. "Sweetheart, that's being handled. Dad and Aaron have been working with a lovely agent to find a suitable transition plan for your grandmother. You know she can't keep up this big house on her own. There's a purchase agreement in her kitchen drawer." "Nora." The warmth dropped 1 register. "This is a family decision. Between your father, your brother, and me. We've been managing Gran's affairs for months. You don't need to worry about the details. She doesn't know the house is being sold, does she? She knows what she needs to know." Diane paused. I could hear the clink of a wine glass. "Aaron's company is in a difficult stretch. The house can fund a proper care facility for Gran and help your brother through a rough patch. It's the responsible thing." "It's her house, Mom." "Nora." The register dropped again, all the way to the basement. Cold. Final. "Your grandmother has dementia. She leaves the stove on. She got lost driving to the post office. She is not the person who should be making decisions about a $680,000 asset." Then she said it. "She won't remember the house by Christmas." The line hummed between us. "Then it's a good thing I remember," I said. I hung up. I picked up the manila folder and Ruth Adler's business card. I held them side by side under the kitchen light. Tomorrow I would drive to Hartford. Tonight, I had reading to do. Ruth Adler's office was on the 2nd floor of a converted brownstone on Asylum Avenue. The waiting room had faded oriental rugs, framed diplomas from Yukon Law, and a small brass sign that read, "Adler and Associates, Elder Law and Estate Planning." I'd called at 7:30 that morning. Her receptionist put me through in under a minute, which, if you know anything about law offices, tells you they were expecting the call. "Ms. Caldwell?" Ruth's voice was the same measured calm from the porch. "I'm glad you reached out. Can you come in today?" I drove the 3 hours again. Ruth met me in a conference room with a pot of Earl Grey and a box of tissues she placed exactly between us on the table without comment. "Your grandmother came to me 14 months ago," she began. "Early August of last year. She'd had an episode, got disoriented driving, ended up 2 towns over, couldn't remember how to get home. A neighbor brought her back. She called me the next morning." "She already knew you?" "She knew my firm. Her friend Dorothy had used us for a trust. Your grandmother came in alone. She was sharp. Focused." Ruth paused. Scared. "Of what?" "Of exactly what's happening now." Ruth folded her hands. "She told me, my son will do whatever Diane tells him, and Diane will sell the house the minute I can't stop her. She wanted to stop it before she couldn't." I put my tea down. "She chose you, Ms. Caldwell. Specifically, she said you were the only one who would fight for the house because you were the only one who understood what it meant." Ruth opened her own copy of the folder. "Your grandmother prepared for this. Let me show you how." Ruth walked me through it piece by piece. 14 months ago, August of last year, Lorraine had come to this office wearing pressed slacks and her pearl earrings, carrying a folder of her own, deed to the house, tax records, her will from 1998, a list of questions she'd handwritten on yellow legal pad paper in the same looping blue ink I'd seen on the note. "She was methodical," Ruth said. "She told me she'd noticed the forgetting. Names first, then appointments, then the route to the post office. She said her doctor had used the word early stage. She said she had maybe a year, maybe 2, before the window closed." "The window for what?" For making legally binding decisions while she still had capacity. Ruth turned a page. She wanted two things. First, to protect the house. Second, to choose who would protect her when she couldn't protect herself. And she didn't choose my father? Ruth looked at me over her reading glasses. No, she did not. She said it without inflection, but the weight of it settled in my chest like a stone dropped into still water. My father was Lorraine's only child. He'd grown up in that kitchen. She'd put him through college, paid for his first suit, danced at his wedding. And when the time came to hand someone the keys to her life, she'd driven past him and gone straight to me. Because she knew. She knew Gregory would defer to Diane. She knew Diane would calculate. She knew Aaron would need. Your grandmother executed the documents on August 9th of last year. Ruth continued. Full capacity. Dr. Mercer, her neurologist, provided a written evaluation that same day, confirming she understood the nature and consequences of what she was signing. Ruth tapped the physician's letter. This is your foundation. The legal architecture was clean. I recognized every instrument from my work. Item 1. A revocable living trust. Lorraine had transferred the house, the deed, the title, everything, into a trust. The Lorraine E. Caldwell Revocable Living Trust, dated August 9th of last year. She was the trustee while she had capacity. I was the successor trustee. If she became incapacitated, legal control of the house passed to me. Not my father. Not Aaron. Me. Item 2. A durable power of attorney. Lorraine had named me her agent for all financial and healthcare decisions. The durability clause meant it survived her incapacity. It didn't expire when she got sick. It activated. Item 3. The physician's letter. Dr. Mercer had examined Lorraine on August 9th and documented that she demonstrated full testamentary capacity. She understood what a trust was. She understood what a power of attorney did. She understood she was placing her house beyond the reach of anyone except the granddaughter she trusted. So the house isn't hers anymore, I said. Technically. Correct. The house belongs to the trust. Lorraine can't sell it as an individual. And under this trust structure, no one holding a personal power of attorney over Lorraine has authority over assets already transferred into the trust. Only the trustee can authorize a sale. And the trustee is me. Once Lorraine is determined to lack capacity, yes, and based on what you've described. She left the stove on 3 times last month. She got lost 2 blocks from home. Ruth nodded. The successor trustee provisions are likely already active. Then she leaned forward. Ms. Caldwell, there's something else you should know. If your family has had your grandmother sign anything recently, a new power of attorney, a listing agreement, while she lacked capacity, those documents may not be enforceable. She let that sit. They may have had her sign something newer. I drove back to Briarwood that evening. The house was quiet. The porch light was on, same as always, and through the front window I could see Lorraine in her recliner, television murmuring, her reading glasses folded on the armrest. I let myself in with the spare key she'd given me when I was 16, the one she'd never given my parents. Gran. She looked up. For a moment, 3 seconds, maybe 4, her eyes were absolutely clear. Not the soft confusion of most days. Not the pleasant fog. Clear, like creek water over gravel. You went to see Ruth, she said. I stopped in the doorway. You remember Ruth? I remember enough. She picked up her reading glasses and turned them in her hands. I remember I was scared, and I went to a lawyer and I told her what Diane would do. Did I get it right? I sat on the arm of the couch. You got it exactly right, Gran. Good. She put the glasses on, then took them off again, as if she'd forgotten why she'd reached for them. They've been bringing people through the house. Tuesdays, when the nurse is here. I hear the doors open and close, strangers looking at my kitchen. I know. Your father won't look at me when he visits. He talks to the walls. She pressed her lips together. Aaron brought papers. I don't remember what I signed. I took her hand. It doesn't matter what you signed. You already took care of it. She squeezed my fingers.